Hey everybody, long time no see. So today I'm going to talk about Hogwarts Legacy again. Now I know my last video was on Hogwarts Legacy, but I played the game a lot. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so that's why I'm doing this. If you don't want to hear me criticize the game, then don't watch this video because I will criticize it. I liked it, but there's also a ton I hated about it. So I'll go over everything. This will probably be a long video. I'm just going to rant. And if you were here for some other type of content, I very, very soon I'll have some stuff. But let's talk about this. I'm going to have my coffee while we're doing it. I have a little cheat sheet here. So again, being a big Harry Potter fan, I've been looking forward to this game for a long time. Also, being a cynical curmudgeon, very cautious about this game. I don't really like most modern AAA games that come out, so um, yeah, a little bit surprised by how much I like some things. Other things I'm like, yeah, and other things I'm like, oh my God, that's bad. So let's go through. Let's just do first the things I like. Let's start with combat. Um, that was the thing I was like, that might be just like a step above. You know, like the if you played any of the older Harry Potter games, it was essentially like you maybe most of the spells were like contextual based, and you could assign them to face buttons of your controller or whatever. And that's basically the same thing here, but the combat is to me it feels like Arkham Asylum's combat basically, but just not up and close with brawling, like a ranged combat. And it oddly feels a little bit like Witcher. It's not always the like slickest combat, but it works perfectly fine. Like it's totally functional. And if you want to make something happen, you probably can. You're limited, of course, to the spells you have. You can't just like do any spell you want. But I mean, like traversal and like like skin to skin combat, like punching people or like getting physical with people, it all feels very natural and flows very well to me. It really does feel like the Arkham combat to me. I really like the combat in those games. Very combo based, and you do get a lot of spells in this game. And while they've grouped them into um, like categories, like you have utility spells and damage spells, force spells, and control spells, which will like help you control some aspect of the fight, like freeze somebody or stop their movement. And the problem is that I have with the combat is that in those categories, they kind of do start to feel samey. Like you're like, well, I should always have. And by the way, I'm going to be ranting a lot in this video, so bear with me. But um, you have like, oh, I should have a yellow, a purple, and a red spell, a force or a control, a force, and a damage spell always in a spell slot at the same time so that I can be, have one of those at my disposal. And then you switch to the next spell slot when those go on cooldown. But just the next spell slot to me just feels the same. It generally feels the same. Like Arresto Momentum in combat generally feels the same as Glacius to me, even though Arresto Momentum for some reason feels more like Arresto Momentum feels like it works better, but Glacius you get a damage increase after you hit somebody after they've been frozen. There's little things, but it starts to feel samey. I'm saying I think that the spells are either could have been more or they could have diversified them. But the actual combat is very fun. I really like it. I'm not really tired of it after like 60 hours. I really like it. It's a surprisingly good point in the game. And then you have your basic cast, which is great that they did that. It, like your basic cast like doesn't ever go on cooldown. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's always there to help. That's like it's not really related at all, but it just reminds me of like Breath of the Wild, where I was like, why can't we have a really shitty weapon that never breaks, like a tree branch, right? Like that would help a lot. And that's kind of what that feels like to me. So combat has been fun. Definitely could be improved, right? But like pretty tight. Next is the attention to detail. Sorry about that. Wow. We do it low tech style here. Attention to detail. I mean, I'm sure you've seen with your own eyes and people talking about it, but it is pretty damn good. I have like a few minor nitpicks with some of the designs, but overall, like, again, like totally unexpected. Like, holy smokes, they with everything there is a blend of the book and the movie. Um, like, it's weird, and I'll talk more about that in my slight cons of that. But the design of everything visually tends to lean a little towards the movies, but then like the dressing of everything, the cluttering, the touches leans towards the books. The movies, it depends what movie we're talking about because there were different directors involved. The probably the movies like most people are familiar with, or people who generally just either know the movies or prefer them, probably more towards like the fourth or fifth movie onwards, right? Like David Yates land when he went to, like action style, the Michael Bay style Harry Potter movies. Um, those have a very particular style to them. And especially like the design of the castle and everything leans towards that, I'd say. But then if you go and you look at the earlier movies, there's more of like a cold kind of British style to them. And also, if you look at the books, things are much more whimsical and wacky. Not always happy, like definitely dark, but there's just more of like a wacky, like zany kind of, like, we're in the wizarding world, things are crazy here. Like, example would be like architecture of like items, like everything is like doorways are crooked, like houses can be crooked. Like, remember the burrow in the second film, like how it was all crooked and it looked like something out of like Klasky Chupo animation or something almost. And that's kind of how things look in this game. So I know I'm going on a long time about that, but it was like something that really interested me in playing the game, like how all the clutter and everything was just had so much character to it, like so much cartoony, whimsical, magical character, which is what I really liked about some of the earlier films and like about the books. But the design kind of reminds me of like the films a little bit more. So there's like a little bit of that, and then of course a lot of stuff that they had to do on their own because it never appeared in the films or anything like that. Now, yeah, Hogwarts is great. I mean, exploring it is a lot of fun, and it feels labyrinthian. It feels big, for a time, and yeah, like pretty much most things you want to see are there. And yeah, just Hogwarts itself is the best part of the game. If you ever wanted to explore Hogwarts, like when I would play like Chamber of Secrets on GameCube and stuff, I would loved exploring, and I wished that I could play a game where they really fleshed it out. And this is that game. So if you ever had that feeling, here you go. However, and before I get into however, I should go a little bit into the sort of surrounding areas, right? Hogsmeade, wonderful. Not at all what I expected it to be like. It feels more like slightly like medieval, like that kind of. Oh well, it feels like almost probably like what it should feel like. That the surrounding areas kind of got stuck in the 1700s or 1600s. That's kind of what everything feels like design wise outside of Hogwarts, and I kind of enjoy it, but not exactly what I pictured in my mind's eye as Hogsmeade being like. Probably to some, yes, but Hogsmeade is great. I like really detailed. There's nooks and crannies and alleyways, and yeah, Hogsmeade is great, and even the Forbidden Forest is great. Um, this game does a great job at like not making everything feel flat, which is a big problem I have with a lot of open world games. It's just flat terrain, right? And I noticed even going through the Forbidden Forest, like nothing is flat in this game. Like every road has a bump to it. There's in the forest in particular, there's like roots that are coming out of the ground. Just it looks like a movie set a lot of the times. Like that's probably a good way to describe like these three areas in particular. They look like movie sets. Like they're that good. The level of detail is that good. I think I said in my earlier video of this that it's like as if somebody from The Sims took like the clutter tool and like put clutter everywhere and did it masterfully. So that shit is really good. A couple things. Sorry about that light. A couple things. The outside. We're gonna start to get into the negatives here. Those are like my only pros of the game, which actually is pretty bad. But as a fan of Harry Potter, a huge fan, like a lot of this is wish fulfillment, as I'm sure it is for a lot of other people. So that aspect of like finally getting to explore Hogwarts and getting a good combat system where it's fun to do spells and have some choice, that stuff is all great. The music is pretty much great. As a musician, I'm especially critical about that. But honestly, the music is really good. There's some good tunes. You've probably seen some talk that they like copy. Like some people were saying, like, oh, they're copying John Williams, or you hear quotes from the movies. I think that's probably a licensing thing. I don't. I think like they're not allowed to use that music. I think, which sounds weird because like Warner Brothers is behind this, but I I don't know. I'm not a copyright expert, but I feel like it's probably like they didn't have the rights to use those particular tracks, so they quoted them to just give you a taste, which is I think what happens a lot, especially if you look back to like Chamber of Secrets and Sorcerer's Stone. Didn't Jeremy Soule do the music for that, right? Who did Skyrim? So, which was great music, like in those games. The scores were really good, but totally different scores. I don't think these scores are as good as his. I don't think I don't think so, but they're damn good though. My problem is like four different people did the score for this, and I think that's probably because they took so goddamn long to make this game that people were just like bowing out and stuff, or it was just kind of one of those things. And I think most people aren't going to notice a damn thing with the music. They're going to think it's fine, think it's good actually, but I noticed like distinct styles in composing. Not in the tunes, because the tunes are all very varied for what they need to do, but I noticed distinct styles of the composers. And I can actually hear, as far as I can hear, none of this music is live, played with a live orchestra. It may sound like that to you, but it's computer samples. And I can hear differences in computer samples, and I can kind of hear sometimes when like one composer pops up, even though I didn't know who did what, because I can kind of hear their sample library has a distinct sort of thing to it. And that also is like, I'm sure enough money was put behind this game where they could have had an orchestra do it. I mean, it's really expensive to hire an orchestra to record a score, really expensive, but they did it on like the old school games. They did. So I think that's cheap. It feels cheap to me with what this is, but it's fine. But the music's good, and there's some good songs in here, good pieces. Sorry. Let's get into the negatives. And we'll start with the like Hogwarts Castle, for instance. Like that's probably where I noticed like just some design choices I wasn't a fan of. This is going to be like people are not going to like this stuff, but I mean whatever. Hogwarts at first feels huge and labyrinthian, and I will say in the credit of the game designers, like really to their credit, they've designed Hogwarts so that it's very, very simple to traverse. I mean, they did. I think what their goal was to make it feel huge and labyrinthian, but also easy to get through. And with the inclusion of that central hall area, which is like a base point for going everywhere, which I don't really. I think like I don't know if I like that or not. I think from a gameplay perspective, I think it's great. It does make it easy to get everywhere. It doesn't. I'm not. We'll go into it, but yeah, at the start everything's fine, but as you start to like get it, in my opinion at least, like I still really like going through Hogwarts and looking at everything. The attention to detail is phenomenal. And there's some like little broom closets and stuff I go in sometimes, and I'm like, this is just so cool, you know. But there's also a lot of times when it starts to feel compartmentalized, because at least like they obviously went with the movie design, with they made their own things up, but and then there's of course there are like things that are only in the books, like the alchemy classroom. I think the Muggle studies classroom is probably never shown. I think the arithmancy classroom is in the game. They're all there. Like it's really cool. And as a matter of fact, on a slight tangent, like they have all the classrooms in the game. Like I said, Muggle studies, alchemy is in there, history of magic. Sorry, um, I couldn't find the ancient runes classroom. It's not in there. It's like they have to have left it out. I feel like I've gone everywhere that would logically have a classroom, but why did they leave that out if they're going to put everything else in? Like they put the alchemy classroom in. There's nothing to do in there really, but they put it in. I know it's very strange, but anyways, they did put the Muggle studies classroom in because that's where Lupin pulls Harry to teach him the Patronus. I think in the book or in the movie, he pulls him into a different classroom, like Charms or something, but going on a long tangent. But my point with all of this is that after a while, it starts to feel compartmentalized. And what I mean by that is like everything is like, there's like the different buildings, right? It feels like, I guess that's how the movie is. It's like a campus more. But remember, Hogwarts in the book is supposed to be one big castle that's 7 floors. It's supposed to have tons of secret passageways, tons of empty classrooms because they weren't utilizing the whole castle, and a huge labyrinthian dungeon. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting them to recreate it as in the book. Well, first off, there's a lot of artistic leeway that would have to go in there. I wouldn't expect them to put like 50 empty classrooms in the game, but going with this like campus style of the movie, it's like you're just going to like small compartmentalized locations that are connected via bridges or courtyards, and it just doesn't feel cohesive to me after a while. Like and then everything is on a different floor a lot of times, so it's like you always feel secluded. Like they kind of almost, and that's probably what they did. I don't think deceptively, but like they kind of tricked you. I don't think they did that in a negative way, but it's like they're tricking you into thinking it's bigger than it really is. I don't know. I rarely just like it's beautiful, like the defense against the Dark Arts Tower. I really like the marble in there. I wish there was more stone everywhere, but like I like the way it's designed. I like that you go upstairs and there's the different classrooms. I just wish it was like big. It just doesn't feel big. It doesn't feel like a castle so much as it feels like a beautiful academy. A lot of stuff is going down a corridor to go into a moderately okay sized room that leads out to another courtyard. It just all feels a bit discombobulated. And very few times do I actually feel like I'm in a humongous castle, because there are not a lot of sections of the castle where you feel like you're going through like all these corridors. Like one example would be like, I guess the dungeons where the Slytherin common room is, where there's like a couple different paths you can go on, but it's not that big. And then other than that, it's like the Gryffindor area. There's like nothing there. Ravenclaw, there's nothing there. Hufflepuff, there's nothing there. Like you go down to the kitchen area, you got your kitchens and the Hufflepuff common room, and there's nothing else there. It's basically an L-shaped hallway. So I don't know, it just feels like closed in after a while. Like, oh, I don't know, it just feels like there should be more. They definitely packed a lot of stuff in there, but it doesn't feel like a lot after a while. I'm not sure if that point is coming across, but like a good example of that is like what they did with the staircase. Now, I think from a gameplay perspective, like I've said before, I think like the central hall, right? I think that putting the staircase as a spiral staircase, and they basically, as you go up the staircase, the steps appear. I think from a gameplay perspective, that flows easier than having the big staircases of the films, and I think is of the book as well, or at least a sort of thing like that. They did it in the other games, but you don't do that anymore, where you wait for the stairs to like come over to you and stuff. But it makes that central staircase, which is supposed to be a focal point, I don't think that's that impressive, to be honest with you. And also, when you're on the staircase, it's in the middle of this spiral tower, and the room feels like big but empty. It feels very empty to me. And also often, like, because it's like one singular staircase, it feels like only one person should be going up at a time and not like just kids everywhere. It really feels kind of empty, even though there are kids walking around in there and they're on the landings and stuff. It always feels kind of weirdly empty for what should be like the big like spectacle of the school. I get why they did it. I don't really like it. I don't really like it at all. The more I walk on it, it feels like something's missing. Like, oh, this big part of the castle's missing. That's just me. Yeah. Anyways, I could go on and on about that. I think I made my point. The rest is, I honestly like. This is where people. I don't think. I think a lot of people would probably agree with this. Like, everything else is pretty terrible. Like, bad. This company that made this game, I'm pretty sure they only made like Disney Infinity, and that shows. I don't know if with this game that the like producers were like, you need to make it like this, or this was just what they knew how to do, or they originally planned on having microtransactions and they took it out, or it's just a combination of stuff because this game was made over such a long period of time. But like everything just feels like shitty mobile game stuff. Like the quests are horrible. The fetch quest, it's all fetch quests. The side quests are terrible. They're just like, go collect this item, 6 of them, and bring it back to me. Honestly, most of the quests are terrible too. Like, they're basically, go to this place out in the open world, kill these enemies so that you can go into the next area of the quest where you're gonna like do a very small puzzle and fight more enemies. It's just like, it's very rinse and repeat. And like I said, I like the combat, but after a while of fighting people like in quests, you're like, holy shit, let me just get this over with. Like sometimes like a new wave of enemies comes on and you're kind of like, I just want to get this over with. That's just me though, man. And then like all the other activities out in the world they're fucking horrible. Like there's no way. If you like them, dude, that's fine. But I think they're terrible. Like flying through rings. There's no Quidditch in the game. That's all weird. That whole Quidditch thing is strange. The Quidditch thing is weird, to go on a quick tangent, because there's no Quidditch, and people are saying, oh, it's going to come in a DLC. I don't think they ever said that, though. And if they did, if you could link me to them saying that or something, but as far as I know, they didn't say that, and I don't think that's going to come. That's just me, though. I don't know. That's a whole thing. I don't think so. But they talk about it a lot, which is weird. But yeah, the way they make up for that is you fly through some rings to get like it's like a like a time trial thing. There's other shit like I don't know. There's just like light puzzles, like their version of vaults or of shrines, like Breath of the Wild, would be like these little Merlin trials where you like they don't tell you what the puzzle is, but there's only like a couple puzzle types, and you're gonna be doing it over and over, and that expands your inventory. Like everything is just like mindless bullshit. And after you do it a couple times, you're like, I'm not doing this again. And then you quickly realize that like then there's no other reason to go out in this fairly big open world outside of Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, and the Forbidden Forest. There's a lot of the map left, and some of it is okay, but most of it, it's like, to be honest with you, like the design of the map is quite good. Like I think that this company's really good at designing like the locations and the maps, because even though like it's kind of generic fantasy, like there's always a touch of Harry Potter going on. And when you go to a little hamlet, there's like a broom that's sweeping on its own. Like I said, like things are crooked and magical, but when you get out into like the open world, it just feels like it could be you could tell me, oh, this is part of The Witcher, and I would be like, oh, cool, until I see like spells, right? But then there's like nothing to do other than these like little things that you've done a million times that are terrible. Like they're not even that good on their own, and it's like, oh, you actually have to do this like 90 more times, so you better get used to it. And then all of this is just to collect gear, which I shouldn't even really call gear. It's really just cosmetics, which again makes this feel like a mobile game, or something that would have microtransactions, because I don't think that there's actually enough variety of clothes in this game for it being like the focal point of everything. Honestly, like I think that there should be like triple the amount of clothes. You might think that's crazy because you get clothes so often, but the actual clothes, like I don't think there are enough styles. And the other problem is that this game lets you basically transmogrify clothing so that you can keep the appearance of one item but have the effects of another. So let's say like you're wearing a purple cloak that you think looks awesome, and you pick up a black shirt, but the black shirt has better stats. You can put the black shirt on but make it look like the purple cloak, which is great, but it means that you're like constantly changing out gear because you're getting something that's like like one stat above or something like that. And then they introduce like this trait mechanic where you can put traits on your clothes, which I like in concept, but it's really fucking boring to do because the way that they make you do that is you have to use byproducts from beasts that you have to go out and capture. Then you have to go back to your room of requirement and go in this vivarium place and tend to your beasts. And every 30 minutes, they'll produce one item, which encourages you to go out and get more beasts and come back. And it creates this gameplay loop that is like fucking mobile game central, man. Like, there's literally timers on the screen, which I'm sure you've seen, but even potions making and everything, there's timers. And there's, of course, there are ways to get this moving faster, right? There's ways to I can't think of the damn word. Sorry, but there's a way to make everything work very seamlessly and cleanly. But it's still like that mechanic does not work for me, man. It's like everything ultimately ends up going to your gear, right? And it's like, and the gear is like useless. It feels like it, right? And I don't know if the gear is random. A lot of people are saying saying it is. And part of me feels like the developers did not make it random and like I don't know. It might be, if it is random, it's terrible. Like that's because you'll be in like a high level quest and you'll go and do a side area and you get dog shit. And it's like, and then you stop looking at stuff. It's just a mess. And then you get so many things that are hidden, so you can't wear it right away. Then you have to go back to your room of requirement. A lot of this is just to inflate the runtime of the game. Like, I really feel like a lot of these bullshit quests and things and just even mechanics of everything is just ways to like subtly just space out the time. And like, there's really not a lot going on, and it's just the game's way of like making it take a little bit longer than it should to make it seem like there's more going on than there is. If you like all that stuff, then there's like a lot of stuff to do. Like, if you like this mobile like microtransaction-y style of like, make sure you have enough moonstone. It's like, you don't pay for anything in this game with real money, thank God, but it's like, if you like shit where you gotta like pay like moonstone to like make things and then wait 30 minutes, then you're gonna like it. Like, there's like a whole section of the game where you can do that kind of stuff. I don't think that's entertaining at all, and like, I wasn't expecting to see that kind of stuff in here. So I don't know. It's not great. And that's like the whole game. So the game's kind of like shitty, to be honest with you. I know people are loving it, and I'm like very happy for people. But honestly, like, if it weren't, like I said in the beginning of this very long video, and if you're still here, holy smokes, thanks for sticking all the way to the end. But if it weren't for this game being partially wish fulfillment for me as a huge Harry Potter fan and waiting for a game like this game would be fucking terrible. Like, I would really give it like a 2 out of 10. I would say like, I don't know. But because it's like there's so much, there's good in this game. Like, as negative as I've been, there's some fantastic things that I really applaud, like the Hogwarts design and the attention to detail and the combat and the way they made the spells look and the sound effects and like, you can blow somebody away with a Vada Kedavra in this game. I'm gonna put spoilers at the beginning now because I just said that. Not that I'm sure you all know you can do that. That's not really a spoiler. They showed it off in the trailer, but you know what I mean. But yeah, like, it's fucking awesome. Like, Crucio's awesome, Imperio. There's like so much good stuff in this game that just feels great. But there's just so much bullshit that overpowers it for me. I think this is going to be a game where every once in a while, if I feel like it, I can hop on my broom, which broom flight to me feels great. I know some people didn't like it, but there's not a lot to do with it other than traversing the world. But it's fun to get on your broom and just fly around and go fight some people. I think will be a game where I will always be able to do that. Like Chamber of Secrets, Sorcerer's Stone, like those older games, I still play them. I just enjoy them. So I think this game will always have some longevity for me, but I don't think it's that great. I don't think we're ever going to get like a good Harry Potter game that like, I'm not saying this needed to be like an RPG. I think some people were expecting like a serious Witcher style RPG or maybe like Fallout or something. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I don't even think this is a very good like single player adventure game. And yes, like the open world, I've kind of already been over that, but there's really no reason for it to exist. Like, I really like open world games. I know they're overdone, and people, like a lot of games are. I think this game did not need to be an open world game. Like, the open world is, there's just nothing going on, and what they give you to do in there is terrible. So it really, they should have like focused more on the smaller sections. um I would love if it was open world though, right? Like, if it was, that'd be great, but it's just, it feels like totally half baked. um yeah, like completely half baked, but whatever, man. That's basically it. I could go on even longer. Like, I haven't even talked about the story. The story, so like, real quick, because we're gonna go on a real long time. The story makes no sense to me. Like, and to be quite honest, it feels like a spec script story. Like, it feels like a generic fantasy story that they just worked into Harry Potter. It's not good. I don't like it. It's not interesting to me. The ancient magic thing, I'm not. I don't. I like using ancient magic on people, but I don't. It doesn't work. It feels too much like they weren't sure what to do, and so they just like created a whole new like aspect of the wizarding world, which I'm not really into. Maybe ancient magic was talked about in the books. I don't. I don't remember that though. I don't think so. I mean, it's been a while since I've read all of them, but I mean, I've read them all quite a bit. I don't remember that. I don't. I'm not a big fan of that. As many people have said, um, Sebastian's storyline is, it's not great. Like, it's not like holy shit, you got to see this, but it's good, and it's way better. It's like way better than the storyline. And I don't even know if that's like, obviously that's objective, or excuse me, subjective, but it's so much better than like everything else. I don't know what's going on there. And it's so much better. It makes me think something weird went on. Like, was that supposed to be the original storyline? I don't know. Tell me if you agree or disagree. But that whole storyline with Sebastian and Ominous feels like way more effort it was put into that than anything else. And perhaps that was supposed to be the thing. I don't know. This game, there's like, it just feels like so much stuff was cut. This is always the case with a lot of modern games to me. They like have to keep delaying it and delaying it, but then it feels like a lot of stuff was cut. It feels like everyone is too ambitious, and that like the producers are just like asking them to do shit constantly that like throws them off. That's what I really think is going on with a lot of games, right? Because they're trying to like please shareholders and stuff, but it's just so much half baked stuff here, man. Which is a shame. Like, story wise, like there's like, I don't want to, like, I could just, like I said, I could go on and on and on, but like there's just a lot of like stuff that feels super underdeveloped. Like a character will be like, meet me at this place, but then they're like walking around, next to you. It's just, and it's awkward. Or like, you go to meet a character, but then you have to stand in a specific spot in a circle to start their quest. It all feels like, and it's like they couldn't like get the quest to organically start or something. And like a lot of stuff, or like you can only do this at nighttime, but there's like no real difference between day and night. So all you have to do is go to your map and wait for it to change to nighttime. So it just feels like an unnecessary step for things, because nothing thematically changes. There's like so many little like quality of life features in here that are not in here, rather, that make the game feel like very clunky. And like, it's like their first game, which I guess it is, and I guess that's pretty impressive, but a lot of stuff is just like underdeveloped. And again, remember, this is a AAA game, so I don't feel bad like criticizing this stuff, because it's not like this was like a little $20 indie game or something, right? And I don't know, just a lot of other stuff. Lots of bugs and glitches too. Not like a tremendous amount. Like, this isn't like Fallout 76, but there's a lot. Like, I remember I was watching, I think it was a pretty notable reviewer who said like in his 45-hour runtime or something like that, he didn't see any bugs or glitches or something, or like only like two little things. And I'm like, I don't even know if I believe that, because this game's buggy, right? Like I said, it's not horrifically buggy, but like, I've had a couple game breaking bugs. I had one actual game breaking bug that was just fucked, and I had to restart the game. And I've had a couple like soft locked kind of things. I've had a lot of bugs in this game. Most of them are visual bugs of like people like heads freaking out and like things, being crazy. but there's still a lot of that. It's not so much that like every second you're walking around, the game is like short circuiting in the matrix, but it definitely feels very buggy. And it's like a lot of times it feels like the game is held together with like gum and like I don't know, like everything is wrapped with like gum and aluminum foil and tape, and like I can break the game. And it really does feel like a lot of times I have to be careful with what I'm like. If I run into an air like a thing too quick, I'll get stuck in there, and like I have to be careful with my movement sometimes. And it feels like they tried to like there's little puzzles in this game where they gave you like one or two ways to solve it, two ways to solve it, and it's like if I do it the other way, like I might break the game. I've broken the game. Like I've had like platforms like go through a wall that it shouldn't, and now I can't do the puzzle. Like all sorts of stuff. So I don't know. I don't want to end this like totally shitting on the game because I've had a lot of fun, but it's just another like it's a modern game. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the game, if you had any similar qualms, or if you had different qualms than me. I'm sure I missed some stuff. I know this is very long, but it doesn't. You can skip through it if you want, whatever. Yeah, let me know. Anyways, have a great day. I'll be back with something else. Whatever I'm feeling like, I guess. But yeah, everybody have a great day. I hope you're all doing well, and peace out.